Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Mastery system, and it's definitely been a while since I've recorded a word of the day, and I felt inspired today. So, today's word is invalidate, and I'm choosing this word because I heard a story earlier about somebody who made the decision to experiment with a new spiritual community. And long story short, their experience was really positive in some ways and kind of nasty and negative in other ways. And bottom line was that it had a lot to do with individual people, not necessarily the community itself. And the details of the story are really not important, at least for my sharing it with you, as much as it's about what it brought up for me in thinking about how do we, as highly sensitive, empathic people, particularly as intuitive people, how do we engage with each other? And I can really see both sides of this coin, and I have absolutely been on both sides of this coin. I have been in situations where I have received information in a way that feels really invalidating, that feels really negative, that feels really judgmental, that feels really harsh. And I have also been the deliverer of information, or particularly sort of blurted out things and blurted out what is probably more likely my opinion than actual truth, and done it in a way that probably wasn't as gracious as it could be. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and especially about the responsibility that we as highly sensitive, empathic, and intuitive people have to be kind in our delivery and to be mindful of how we share information with other people. So I wanted to share a couple sort of tips or pointers and sort of my experience, strength, and hope about how I approach this and how I've come to do this in a way that I think is generally going to be less likely to cause harm than if I just blurt, and especially if I don't take my time to temper my words or think about what I have to say. So the first thing that I am really aware of whenever I am getting a sense of something or seeing what I perceive to be as, quote, truth, unquote, is that I always ask myself, first off, is this true? Or is this something that is getting triggered within me that is provoking a reaction inside of me that's more about my own stuff than them? So that's the first thing I ask, is really, is this about me or is this about them? What's my stuff? What's not? The second question I ask is this any of my business? Is this my job? Am I supposed to be the deliverer of this information, or is it just that I happen to be watching the clouds go by and just see something, and it's really not my responsibility, not my monkey, not my circus? And third, do I have permission? Do I have consent to share this information? Is this person even looking for this feedback? Because so often in my experience, I've been in places where I've had total strangers just come up to me and start reading me or telling me shit that I'm not even asking for. And more often than not, my experience with people like that is that it's more about them, more about their ego, and often like they're trying to prove something, but it's not helpful. It's definitely not helpful for me when somebody gives me unsolicited psychic information. So for me, I think as an intuitive, one of the most important things we need to be thinking about at any given time is, do we have permission? Do we have consent? And fourth, when we get that guidance and when we get that sense of something coming up, we need to ask for permission? Like, bottom line, if I'm sensing something and somebody is there and I think it's for them, I can say, I'm getting a feeling about something. Would you be interested in hearing about it? Because unless they give us their consent, we are basically doing something against their will. Or except in one circumstance, which is that they have hired you or they have come to you and they have specifically requested that you do a reading for them. Then you can just give the information. But even in that case, I think it's incredibly important to ask ourselves the question, am I giving this information in a kind way? Am I giving this information in a way that is devoid or separated from my own triggers and my own ego? And am I giving this information in a way that is going to be helpful and useful, not in a way that could cause harm or be a hindrance to somebody. Now, finally, when it comes to the how I deliver information, there's one last piece of it, which is that personally, unless I am doing a reading and I am just basically sort of like riffing and letting things come out because somebody said, yes, please, just share whatever you get. I always, whenever I'm in a situation where I am not doing a reading, but just say I'm with somebody and suddenly I get this flash about something, I wait for it to come 3 times before I share it. I just sit, I acknowledge the first time it comes, the second time it comes back, I go, okay, and I listen a little bit more. And when it comes back for a 3rd round, that's when I will go to somebody and say, you know, I'm getting this feeling about something, would you be interested in hearing about it? And at that point, that's when I am deliberately giving them information and sharing it with them. So that's basically sort of how I tend to think about approaching guidance and information in a way that does not invalidate other people. Now, I will also say that on the other side of it, when you are the recipient of unwanted information, I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. First and foremost is one of the 4 agreements, which is so incredibly important. Thank you, Don Miguel Ruiz, for reminding us, don't take anything personally. Because the truth is that the way somebody delivers their information is so much more about who they are and is a representation of their character, not of who you are. And if they're being a jerk, if they are delivering information in a harsh and inappropriate way, and especially if they're just blurting stuff out, walking all over you and invalidating your reality, then that's about them. That's about their inability to temper themselves. That's about their choice to not be kind. And I think it's very useful to just take that into consideration, and often to take it into consideration for any further dealings you have with them. Now, sometimes somebody could just be having a hard day and they recognize that they did something wrong and they can make amends for it. They can apologize. They can be like, wow, sorry, I was such a jerk. But if somebody is just consistently that way, then I would say take that information into consideration and respond to people like that accordingly by keeping a wide berth and giving them a lot of distance. So that's the first thing. Don't take anything personally. And then the second thing is, if it feels safe for you, if it feels appropriate, you have a right to say to that person, 1, thank you for sharing, or no thank you for sharing. That's not really my truth. That's not really reality for me. I hear that's what you're saying. And, you know, I didn't ask for this information. That really is the bottom line there. Or, wow, that was really hard to hear. You know, there's a lot of ways to deliver it, but that we can speak our truth. We can say to somebody, you know, that was harsh, that was difficult, that was hard for me to hear. Now, I will say that I think that there needs to be a certain amount of safety when we say those kinds of things, and that not everybody deserves our truth. Not everybody is worthy of getting feedback for being a bonehead or an asshole. Some people just are going to be what they are, and the best thing we can do is just not take it personally, say not my monkey, not my circus, and walk on by. So that's kind of the 2 sides of the invalidation coin from my perspective. So my questions to you right now are, when you are on the side of delivering information, are you being kind? Are you being mindful? Are you paying attention to what's yours and what's not yours? And also, are you clear as to whether or not you have consent and permission to share something? Or do you find yourself sometimes falling into just blurting things before you have really confirmed that somebody's actually interested in hearing it? And on the other side of it, when somebody does deliver something in a harsh or ineffective or invalidating way, do you find yourself able to not take it personally, or does it really get under your skin? And what would it take to let it go? What would it take to sort of remove yourself from it so that it's more just feedback about who they are as a person and not about something that is deep inside of you? So I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this. Please leave a comment below. And until next word of the day, which God only knows when I'm going to do it again, I am wishing you peace. I am wishing you ease. And I am wishing you, mindfulness and kindness and that ability to recognize what is your monkey and what is your circus. And in the meantime, if you haven't already done it, please go like my Facebook page, Modern Medicine Lady, and I will be eternally grateful for your help to get this video and my page out into the world. So please like it, please share it, and please pass it along to other people who would find it useful. Thank you so much, and until some other time, peace.